Hello, it's Travis Edwards with another mental check. Take a shot of your positive vibes. Let's go! I told you that there is indeed something that is able to connect, or is kind of like a bridge between the spiritual universe and the physical universe, and it is called a postulate. And just to remind you what a postulate is, it is anything that you think, say, or write down that comes true. Now, if you ever wondered, have you ever wondered to yourself, not even wondered to yourself, but have you ever thought of someone and then maybe they call you the next day, they call you in the next week? Or if you're listening to this call right now, just say yes, even though I can't hear you. So that happened to me yesterday morning to be exact. I was thinking of a lady the night before. She called me 9 minutes before this call yesterday, literally. So what if I told you that, we believe, maybe we think miracles happen every now and then. What if I told you that miracles happen to you all the time? What if I told you that? What if I told you that you can literally create anything you want every single time, and it happens all the time? I've actually said, and here's the funny thing about the spiritual universe: you got to be very clear on what you want, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But you can say something like, I want a car wash, and then you go outside and it rains. But you got to say, I actually want a car wash from a car wash. Things like that. So the spiritual universe, you have to be very clear on what you want, because postulates or miracles that are things that you perceive to be miracles happen to you all the time. You just create them, whether they're positive or negative. You have no clue, but they happen to you all the time. Now, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a story, because this is very, very important for you guys to understand. Because you have to understand how postulates are created. There was a lady named Karen, and this is a true story. There's a lady named Karen. She got invited to a course called Mulberry Hill Gang. In fact, it's the same course I took. Now, the way that she got invited to that course is because her boss had a factory problem back in China, and so he gave her a free ticket for this event. So she gets invited to an event that she has no clue about, and she asked her boss, "What is this about?" He's like, the course is called Mulberry Hill Gang. And she's like, "Okay, I guess I'll go." And she gets to this course, and the instructor says to her, "I want you to write down one of your most outlandish dreams. Just write it down on paper in detail. I want you to write this thing down. Just write it down." And she writes down, "The man of my dreams needs to the man of my dream has to have written 2 chicken soup for the soul books." Now, at the time that she's in this course, she paid her boss paid $15,000 to get into this course, Mulberry Hill Gang. And because the instructor of that course said they paid $15,000, he said, well, they might as well get a gift. And so he gave Karen one chicken soup for the soul book. And as he gave her the book, she says, "You wrote a chicken soup for the soul book?" He's like, "Yeah, I did." She's like, He's like, "Why do you say that?" She's like, I'm not telling you. And so she carries on. And the instructor of the course, his name is Raymond, right? This is a story of Raymond and Karen, right? His name is Raymond. He was very attracted to her, but he was advised from his staff that you cannot date your students. You cannot date revenue or expenses. You cannot. So he ignored it. So the funny thing about this entire thing is that as they were going, he went through the list of people that registered for the course, and her name was not on the list. See, he was curious. He wanted to know why it was, like, how did she get in this course? So she didn't pay for this course. So he talks to her and she says, oh, my boss invited me to this course. But he was so determined. He liked her so much. He was so attracted to her. He wanted to go on a date with her. And she said, I don't want to go on a date with you. You're too arrogant. But he kept trying, and he kept trying, and he kept trying. And then finally, she gave him the dreaded Starbucks date, you know, the type of date where, you know, if she doesn't like you, she can leave, that type of thing. And so he gets there, and he's trying to figure out what the hell is it that he can bring for her. Should he bring a half a dozen flowers? Should he take her, bring something else as a gift? But he decided to bring a second Chicken Soup for the Soul book that he had written. I hope you guys are hearing this. So he comes to the date, and he hands her the second Chicken Soup for the Soul book. Remember, Karen had said the man of her dreams has to have written 2 Chicken Soup for the Soul books, right? And as he gives her this book, she's like, "You've written 2 Chicken Soup for the Soul books?" And he's like, "Yes, I have." And she's like, "Wow." He's like, "Why do you say that?" She's like, "I am not telling you." So now it's going on her head. And then she's saying in her head, "Oh my gosh," as they're going along, she's like, "Oh my gosh, don't let me fall in love with this old guy. Because their age difference was much, much different. Like, they were big age gap, about 27 years apart. She's like, "Don't let me fall in love with this old guy." And eventually they did fall in love. And that was the man of her dreams. So now here's the crazy thing about this whole entire process, right? I hope you guys are stunned by what I just told you, because for the sequence of these things to happen, it's just so wild, because she had to get to that course. He had to write 2 Chicken Soup for the Soul books. Her boss had to go to China to go fix his factory for all this to happen. And if any of those sequences didn't fall in order together, they would have never met each other. What inspired Raymond to write 2 Chicken Soup for the Soul books? What even inspired that lady to actually get to that course? These are all the questions she's going off. And why did the boss actually take off and go to China? He could have went at any other time. And why did he decide to take even that course? Think about all these things that have come together to create Karen's postulate of meeting the man of her dreams that has to have written 2 Chicken Soup for the Soul books. And this story is actually from my mentor, Raymond Aaron, because he told me this story. And I was sitting there in awe. Like, what the hell? How is this possible? And that is how postulates work. But what you need to understand, a postulate is anything that you think, say, or write down that comes true. It can be conscious or unconsciously. You have a million thoughts per second. Unconsciously, you're thinking a certain way as well. And every time you think, your postulates are coming true. Now, the question is, how long does it take a postulate to come true? How long? Because in the physical universe, there's nothing, in the spiritual universe, there's nothing called time. And postulates live in the spiritual universe. In the physical universe, we have something called time. Now, if we go back to that story, was Karen's postulate created was her postulate created the day that she took that course? Or was it created maybe 15 years earlier or 20 years earlier when Raymond Aaron actually decided to write those 2 Chicken Soup for the Soul books? Or was it created when Raymond Aaron decided to write those Chicken Soup for the Soul? Or was it created when her boss decided to go to China? Think about this, guys. I know this might be going crazy, but I want you guys to give the different possibilities. And I'm going to make it very simple for you. Postulates are created the minute that it's thought of, or it's written down, or it's set. It's created instantly, all the time, instantly. However, because we live in the physical universe, there is one big communication lag. What does that mean? It's going to have a certain allotment of time that passes by before you'll see it in the physical universe. But the minute you think it's safe to write down, it comes true. And for you, that should be a very big revelation right now. Because maybe for most of your life, you've been worrying if things are going to actually work out the way they need to. But you don't need to worry anymore because anything you think, say, or write down actually comes true anyways. When you're aware of this, now your life changes. You don't worry. You don't fear anything. You know that if you act and be a certain way, things will happen the way it is. It's just going to take some time. We don't know how long that time is. I can't tell you how long time that is because there's a big communication lag. So postulates come true. The incident is created. However, the physical universe has a big communication lag, so you won't see it. Now, what you guys need to understand is, I've asked the question as well, how can you speed it up? And the answer to that question is you don't want to speed it up. You do not want to speed it up because maybe you're not ready for it at that time. Maybe there is a process that you need to undergo in order for you to get that postulate. One of my other questions in the course of Mulberry Hair Gang was, how do I think positively, unconsciously, so that my postulates are always things that I want? And the answer to that question is the question that I want, or the answer to that question is basically, this is where you have to be very, very careful of your surroundings. The information that's coming to your mind, the friends around you, because the minute you're always thinking things, you're creating situations in your head, you got to be very careful what is downloaded into your mind. So now, what can slow down a postulate? You have what you call a counter postulate, and you have co-postulates. But I'm not going to go into that today. I'm not going to counter postulates or co-postulates. What you need to understand is that this is very, very powerful information, and that what you know right now, if anything you've learned during the mental check, is that this thing called postulates right here is very, very powerful. It can change your life. But you must understand, when you are, especially if you're writing down a postulate or you're thinking about something, make sure it is detailed as hell. Make sure it is detailed. Because if you don't clarify what you want, you're going to get something else. For example, I'm going to tell you an example. I'm doing a 30-day challenge, right? I got to be very clear about what I want. I want 50 paid people in my 30-day challenge. That's how I got to say it. If I say it any differently, I'll get 50 people, but they might not have all paid. So you got to understand your language and how you detail things out. But you need to understand that you're creating postulates all the time. You have miracles happening in your life every single time, but you don't know why. You haven't known why until this point, but miracles have been happening for you all the time. And maybe they're not miracles. Maybe it's things you don't want, and you've been creating it all the time and you don't know why. There's also something called intentions that automatically create your postulate, so you don't have to think all the time. You're going to think on a certain level. I will be talking about that next week. So that was a long one. I hope you guys got the gist of that. I hope you guys got some value. As I said, I got bangers. I got so much more information to share with you guys. But I figure I share you guys that story because that's how life works. It's just things falling in place in a certain way and you're wondering, how the hell does it all work? I will explain it for you. So have a good one, guys. Peace.